A very good morning to all. In today's session, we are all going to learn about the corporate social responsibility in global context or perspective and business ethics. So let's overview about the corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility plays a very crucial role in terms of in terms of realism of international business where the companies operates across the borders and mainly involved in with diverse stakeholders. As the business or organization expand their global, you can say, presence, they ultimately face a unique social, environmental, ethical challenges in the near future with coming up with the responsible and the sustainable practices. It also involves in international business not only to maintain a positive reputation or a corporate image, but also plays a significant role to create a meaningful impact at a global level. Responsible practices not only contribute a positive corporate reputation or image, but it also build up a harmonious relationship and create a global business environment which brings up a more sustainable and inclusive world. Let's talk about the international business. So, international business includes an transaction or any exchange of goods and services or any sort of resources between the individuals, organization, governments in different countries. It also includes the various activities, the various transactions, which includes the international trade, investments, finance, marketing, supply chain, management of the overall operational and administration. The companies who are engaged in international business is mainly involved or to expand their customer base, increase the revenue. They can easily access to the or enter into a new market at the international scale. They can also acquire the resources and gain a competitive advantage in it. There are plenty of factors or numerous factors which shape up the international business, including the government policies, cultural differences, economic conditions, legal system, technological advancement, etc. To succeed in an international business at an international scale, companies must navigate the complex and the dynamic factors and try to adopt the unique or refreshed strategies to meet up the needs of the diverse market and build up a harmonious relationship with the diverse stakeholders in an international countries. Now we can come up to the next section, that is corporate social responsibility and international business. So there are plenty of reasons which always show up that what would be the role of the corporate social responsibility in an international business. So the first reason is it refers to a global impact of the business operation. So the social and under this particular section, social and environmental footprint is always plays a very significant role at a global scale, which influences the societies and the ecosystems across the border lines. Corporate social responsibility will always ensures to build up a responsible business practices and minimizing the negative impact on the local communities as well as the environment. What would be the cultural sensitivity when we operate in a diverse cultural background or you can say perspective? It requires the business to be very sensitive to the ethical and the social norms and values in different regions and international borders. And in fact, the corporate social responsibility initiatives is also enables to mutual respect, support, you can say the unique needs of the local communities. It also helps to understand the cultural norms or the cultural backgrounds of the local communities when we talk about the environmental impact. Next is supply chain ethics. When we talk about the supply chain ethics, what the corporate social responsibility practices ensures in the supply chain management. So, when we talk about the global supply chain, international business, you can say suffers from a complex supply chain, which where the where which involves or include the suppliers from the various countries. When we talk about the corporate social responsibility practices, it always helps the supply chain management to ensure the ethical sourcing, the fair labor practices, the sustainable production processes as well to compete the modern slavery. So, with the global perspective or global nature of the supply chain, business must actively, you can say, face off the issues like modern slavery and the human rights violation by promoting the transparency, the accountability, and cope up with the responsible supplier selection. So it could be done through the corporate social responsibility practices. So whenever any issues or to face off the issue and to find out any of the suitable solutions relate to them or to face off the modern slavery or the human rights valuation, it is important to focus on the transparency and the responsible supplier selection. Next is community engagement and development, community investment. It all you can say the international business is always engaged with the local communities in the countries of the operations when it comes to the operational activities, which always build up the trust in addressing the social challenges. Corporate social responsibility initiatives can focus on education, healthcare, and economic development. So, when we talk about any of the international businesses and within the international business, the role of the corporate social responsibility practices or initiative is mainly focused on education, healthcare, and economic development to make more and more investment on these sectors for the welfare of the local communities. Let's talk about the capacity building. International business contribute to the development of the local community by providing training and support to improve their skills, to create a job opportunities for them so that they get employed and earn, you can say, earn well and survive a suitable or happy life. Next is respecting human rights. Responsible business conduct. International business must adhere to international human rights standards which enhance or ensures a fair treatment of employees, respecting the rights of the stakeholder or the interest of the stakeholder which are affected by the operational activities of the businesses. In fact, the business should also operate the reasons which is affected by the conflict zone, or you can say, or any of the ill diligence against the operations of the businesses. So businesses who operate in regions which are affected by the conflicts or any of the you can say ill diligence must exercise their operation which do not contribute to any of the human rights abuses. Next one is environmental stewardship. when we talk about the climate action, the international businesses should contribute to the global effort. So it should ensure the climate change or the global change by adopting a sustainable practices and support the renewable energy initiatives. Biodiversity conservation, it also helps. The business should also focus and helps to provide the natural habitats and preserve the biodiversity, which is a challenging and the crucial task, especially for those industries who are impacting, who are influencing the ecosystem of the country. And the last one is a global partnerships for sustainable development. When we talk about the global partnership for sustainable development, there are United Nations Sustainable Development Goals where the every international business has to follow, but always needs to address while following that sustainable development goals to address the global challenges and contribute to the sustainable development. Public-private partnership, it is also important for the international business to collaborate with the governments, NGOs, international organizations in order to understand the impact of the corporate social responsibility initiative and of course address and know the complex global issues in that particular practices scenarios. Now we can come up to the benefits of the corporate social responsibility for multinational corporations. First one is improving relationship with stakeholders. Corporate social responsibility activities, which always helps the companies to develop the relationships more and more with the diverse stakeholders. And such organization is always engaged in the corporate social responsibility activities to build up the trust and loyalty among the diverse stakeholders. Next one is attracting the investors. It also attract the investors through the corporate social responsibility activities. So according to the study which was conducted by the Mankindley and Company and the World Bank, three quarters of the stakeholders considers non-financial performances as important as financial performances while evaluating that the most suitable enterprise for the investment. So as according to the study, if any of the stakeholder wants to invest in any of the company, so definitely the stakeholders will evaluate the three quarters of their financial performances in order to decide at which company would be most suitable for the investment purpose. So this is how the corporate social responsibility activities which always assist to the stakeholders that which you can see suitable organization would be the best for investment. Next one is improving financial performance. It also refers the financial performance of the enterprise through the corporate social responsibility activities only. According to the Mankindley and Company, shows that the investors who are avoiding the enterprises with the poor corporate social responsibility records and ready to pay premium for enterprises having a good record of corporate social responsibility activities. So automatically the stakeholders who are ready to pay premium, who have a good records of corporate social responsibility activities, where the poor corporate social responsibilities, none of the stakeholders are ready to pay for it. So this is how the financial performances also plays an important role when we talk in case of when in case of the corporate social responsibilities that they follow in measuring the financial performances of the enterprises. Next one is increasing the public credibility. It also helps to improve the credibility of an enterprise through the corporate social responsibility activities and accountability and transparencies of such activities which always assist the enterprises to build up their trust and credibility with the public. Next one is utilizing the resources effectively. Corporate social responsibility practices may also helps to utilize the resources of the society in a very effective manner to minimize the cost and wastage. For example, Unilever in Bangladesh had started a tree plantation program to raise the environmental awareness about using the resources effectively. So, in order, the most important part of this point is to use the resources to minimize the waste and cost. So ultimately, if any of the company build up any plantation, any plant in another country, just to get an environmental awareness about using the resources effectively and efficiently for the beneficial of the local communities in the same country. Now, what are the challenges faced by the multinational companies in corporate social responsibility implementation? So, one of the challenge is the lack of transparency. It also, you can say, it imposes a major issue in the authentic implementation of the corporate social responsibility programs where the enterprise does not close any information regarding the same programs and how the funds is to be allocated to implement such programs. So such lack of transparency will definitely impact the trust and you can say loyalty between the companies and the communities. So transparency is definitely required in the following areas. The first, while implementing the corporate social responsibility in international business, that is the code of conduct. It includes the worker rights and environmental protection, management standards. It also integrate the social and the environmental aspects of the enterprise and evaluation. It also includes the internal reporting, then what would be the internal reports of the corporate social responsibility activities by the companies. The next challenge or issue is a lack of community participation. It also hinders or hampers the prospects of the corporate social responsibility activities. For example, in case of India, the companies do not have adequate understanding of such activities as because they lack in equipment or tools or resources or the commitment to carry on these activities, and as a result it lacks of initiatives will always be there on behalf of the Indian enterprises who are undertaking the corporate social responsibility activities at an advanced level. Next one is lack of non-governmental organization. When we talk about the lack of corporate social responsibility activities, which was implemented by NGO, that means it's almost lacking in implementing it. Because the presence of NGOs is also important to implement the corporate social responsibility activities in the country because the NGO always guide and work with the enterprises to attain or to fulfill the goals of the corporate social responsibility initiative, to have a sustainable business practices, to build up, to conduct, to build a transparency and accountability in its own reports, financial reports. So the non-availability of the NGOs slow down the spread of such activities, practices related to the corporate social responsibility in the remote areas in the various countries. So it is if the lack of NGOs is available or the non-availability of the NGO, then ultimately it will influence to spread the you can see the practices of the corporate social responsibility in remote areas in various countries. Next one is the lack of corporate social responsibility guidelines. It also refers that many countries do not have any clear guidelines related to the corporate social responsibility norms and activities. So ultimately, the enterprises who are lacking the proper directions, proper you can say guidelines to follow the CSR practices, then ultimately they cannot measure to evaluate such activities if no guidelines has to be defined to them. So this is also the one of the challenge in terms of multinational companies or corporation, that is lack of guidelines which they have to follow. If there is no guidelines, how they can implement the corporate social responsibility practices or guidelines within the organizations. Next one is narrow view towards the corporate social responsibility initiatives. It also refers a limited perception of the enterprise towards the corporate social responsibility activities. When there is a limited perceptions towards the initiative, then ultimately it is very important to extend the wide version of perceptions towards the corporate social responsibility activities, which also includes their willingness to take up the responsibility, being accountable, that how these activities is to be implemented in the organization. Next is importance to visibility factor. Sometimes NGOs involves themselves in the corporate social responsibility programs to get it media attention, to focus more and more on media. But ultimately, the more and more chances is to achieve the goals at the grassroots levels, which is going to be failed if they more focus on other factors. So the major focus of the NGO should be on the corporate social responsibility programs. If their major focus is divert to media attention, then ultimately it failed to achieve the goals at the root levels. Next one is lack of budget. It also poses a major factor of the enterprises, which always wish to practice the corporate social responsibility activities. Sometimes their small and medium enterprises doesn't have any financial resources or support and how they will carry out the corporate social responsibility activities with its own organization. So if there is no budget, there is no allocated plan of their financial resources, then ultimately it failed to adopt the corporate social responsibility within own organization. Next one is corporate social responsibility and sustainable development goals. Corporate social responsibility plays a very significant role in a sustainable development goals, and of course, in order to advance these goals in international perspective, the Sustainable Development Goals outlines the 17 interconnected objectives, which mainly aims to address the global challenges or issues like poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, etc. So once we, you can say, impose the corporate social responsibility practices, initiated or collaborate these activities with the sustainable development goals, business can able to contribute, you can see, to the global sustainability efforts and always creates a positive impact on the community and the environment. So it is important to understand the relationship between the corporate social responsibility and the sustainable development goals. Or in other words, how business can actively contribute to achieving these goals. So we have a we have a following reasons to show up the relationship of corporate social responsibility and sustainable development goals. So the first reason is sustainable development goals as a framework for the corporate social responsibility. It embraces an holistic approach. Automatically, when we talk about the sustainable development goals, it also provides a comprehensive framework which addresses the social, economic, environmental factors of the sustainability. And the corporate social responsibility initiative is aligned with such goals to adopt a more holistic and impactful approaches when it reach out to the social challenges. It also addresses the interconnected challenges. So the sustainable development goals recognizes the interconnectedness of all the global challenges and issues. So by supporting the multiple goals through the corporate social responsibility initiative and sustainable business practices, business can address more and more challenges simultaneously. Next one is direct and indirect contribution. When we talk about the direct impact, some corporate social responsibility practices or initiatives directly contribute to the specific sustainable development goals. For example, initiative focus on poverty alleviation, gender equality, quality education, clean water, renewable energy, which is directly aligned with the sustainable development goals. And there are few goals which is related to these corporate social responsibility initiatives as well. Then definitely it's a direct contribution to such goals. But hey, there are some indirect contribution or indirect impact to the sustainable development goals. So many corporate social responsibility initiatives indirectly contribute to the sustainable development goals by promoting the sustainable practices, responsible consumption, or ethical business conduct. So automatically it also indirectly contribute to such goals in the form of responsible consumption, ethical business norms, or sustainable business practices. Next reason is partnerships and collaboration. So under this, there is a multiple stakeholder engagement. So achieving the sustainable development goal, it is very important to build up a collective action or efforts. Business should collaborate with the government, NGOs, academia, or any diverse, you can say, stakeholders to pull up their financial resources and expertise for the maximum support or contribution. The next point under this section is a public and a private partnership. By forming the partnership with the government, international organization, business must scale up their corporate social responsibility initiative or efforts and addresses using corporate social responsibility practices or initiatives to address the complex global challenges effectively. Next is reporting and transparency. So sustainable development goals alignment reporting. So transparency reporting is also equally valid for the corporate social responsibility initiatives which related or associated with the specific sustainable development goals. It also ensures the accountability and transparency and also helps to build up the trust and loyalty in order to understand the company contribution to global sustainability. Impact measurement. It also demonstrates the impact of the corporate social responsibility initiative on the sustainable development goals through the various measurable parameters, which always helps to measure their performances and identify the areas for the future improvement. Next one is innovation in technology. Under this, innovation solution. So the corporate social responsibility is always focused on innovation, which leads to a new services, new products, new technologies, which ultimately helps to achieve the sustainable development goals more effectively. Next is technology for sustainability. So automatically when we adopting technologies always aims to improve the resources efficiency, promote the renewable resource energy or resources, and always build up a supply chain transparency, which always leads to a goals achievement. And the last is empowering the local communities. Community centric approaches. When we talk about organization, must engage with the local communities to understand their needs, to empower them to be a part of the sustainable development efforts, which leads to a long lasting efforts or impact. Capacity building. Corporate social responsibility initiatives focus on education, skill development, healthcare, you can see assistance, which automatically contribute to enhance the capabilities of the local communities, and of course it leads to a progress towards achieving the sustainable development goals. Now we can come up to the 17 sustainable goals areas: no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation. If you remember that corporate social responsibility initiative like poverty elevation, water cleaning, supply of clean water, you can say improve the renewable energies, and you can say gender inequalities. So automatically these are the goals which always same of in case of the corporate social responsibility initiative, while adopting the sustainable business practices, which leads to an accountability and transparency in achieving these goals. And the same goals are also considered and come up under the 17 Sustainable Development Goals areas like gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequality, sustainable cities and community, responsible consumption and production, climate change, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goal. As you can see, the various challenges where the public and private partnership is also equally valid, where the organization collaborate with the government, NGOs, or any other institutions so that their resources could improve or build up towards achieving the sustainable development goals. Now we can come up to the sustainable development goals and corporate social responsibility in India. As India, with its you can say vast population and diverse challenges, plays a very important role to advance the sustainable development goal which was set up by the United Nations. And the corporate social responsibility has become an essential tool for all of the businesses who operate in India to contribute the economy, you can see sustainable development efforts. So by aligning to corporate social responsibility initiative with the sustainable development goals, Indian companies always address the social, environmental issues, uplift communities, and always work towards the positive change. So it is very important to understand the interaction between the sustainable development goals and the corporate social responsibility in India, and how these initiatives are creating a significant impact on the nation sustainable development journey. So, due to have a following reasons for it, the first one is the government mandate for the corporate social responsibility. It is very important to have to conduct to implement the Companies Act 2013, which is mandatory for few companies so that they can spend a few percentage of their profits on corporate social responsibility efforts. So the Companies Act 2013, the Indian government has introduced the Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013, which making it mandatory for a few companies or a certain companies to spend few profit or few percentage of its net profits on the corporate social responsibility initiative. And this legislation or this rule has encouraged the companies to actively participate in sustainable development to improve, to address the environmental, social, and economic issues. Next is focus on local development. Corporate social responsibility activities in India, it always focus on the local communities and especially on those areas like education, healthcare, women empowerment, and rural development. And this is the aim of the sustainable development goals and the corporate social responsibilities activities in India. It's mainly focused on such areas, which is very you can say, which is mainly related to the sustainable development goals. Next one is alignment with sustainable development goals. It is important to map up the corporate social responsibility initiative to the sustainable development goals. Indian companies are always been increasing to build up the corporate social responsibility initiative with the specific sustainable development goals to address the country unique challenges effectively. Impactful contribution, so the corporate social responsibility initiative in India makes a significant contributions to such goals, including elevating poverty, ensure quality education, promote gender equality, and support environmental sustainability. Next one is promoting inclusive growth. It empowers the marginalized communities, which always aims to uplift the marginalized communities, including the tribal population, Dalits, and minorities, by providing access to education, healthcare, and livelihood opportunities. Sustainable livelihood. Corporate social report responsibilities project and always promote a sustainable livelihood through the skills development, entrepreneurship support, and income generating activities. Environmental conservation. The first point is under this section is the renewable energy initiatives. Many Indian companies always invest in renewable energy projects like solar, wind, and ultimately it contributes to the Indian commitment to face off the climate change and promote clean energy. The water and waste management. The corporate social responsibility project is also addresses the issues like water conservation and waste management issues, and ultimately through such projects it promotes the sustainable consumption patterns to protect the environmental situations in India. Next one is education and skill development. Quality education, the corporate social responsibility initiatives, it's mainly focus on improving the access to quality education. So the main aim of the corporate social responsibility is to provide the quality education by constructing the schools, providing the scholarships to the unprivileged students as well. Skills training, skill development programs is also aims to provide the employment and just bridge the gap between the industry requirements and available talents. Next one is healthcare sanitation. So of course, companies should invest the healthcare infrastructure, mobile clinics, medical camps to improve the access to the healthcare services in remote areas. And customer corporate social responsibilities initiatives support the sanitation programs to promote the hygienic and the access to clean water in the remote areas. Next one is community engagement. The first one is volunteerism. Companies always encourage the employees to actively participate in community engagement activities which enhance the impact of the corporate social responsibility initiatives. Next one is stakeholder collaboration. It also engage with the local communities in order to understand the needs of the beneficiaries effectively, but it could be achieved such goal through the corporate social responsibility project, and the companies should invest on such projects in order to understand the needs of the beneficiaries or the local communities effectively. And it could be done also by associating with the relevant stakeholders. Next is corporate social responsibility and conflict. Corporate social responsibility initiative can be a both. It refers to a tool of build up a peace or a source of conflict as well. So it's totally depends upon the complex situations or you can say perspective like conflict affective areas. As corporate social responsibilities always aims to promote stability, a security, also aims to reduce risk, support development, and also reduce the you can say existing tension, creates a new options which was not implemented before carefully. So automatically corporate social responsibility as a force for peace. It promotes peace building. Such initiatives support reconciliation, foster dialogue, and build up a communities which resilience in conflict affected areas. Next one is it reduces risk and impacts of conflict. By addressing the social and economic inequalities, it also promotes the human rights. It works on the rights of the human beings. It supports the local capacity to build up corporate social responsibility. It also helps to reduce the consequences, the negative drivers of any of the conflicts exist in the remote areas. Aligning with global development goals, corporate social responsibility can also contribute to achieve the sustainable development goals which relate to peace, justice, and build up a strong institution in such conflict affecting areas. Now we can come up to the next section, that is corporate social responsibility as a source of conflict. So we can talk about under this is exhibiting the existing tension. So corporate social responsibilities activities which always favor a certain groups to reduce the you can see social tensions, create competition for resources which ultimately leading to conflict, and creating a new conflicts like lack of transparency, inadequate stakeholder engagement, the perception of unfair distribution of benefits from corporate social responsibility projects could be a trigger conflict in such remote areas. Operating in unstable environment, conflict affecting areas presents a unique challenges for the corporate social responsibility as political instability, corruption, security threats, legal uncertainties are the areas which makes to build up the business practices to be a responsibility for the businesses. Navigating the corporate social responsibility in conflict affecting areas. So, corporate social responsibility is a tool to be used in conflict affecting areas. Understanding the perspective in such areas, conducting through the risk, assessing the exact situation. It is important to engage with local stakeholders, build a relationship or a cordially relationship with the communities are the crucial steps. Promoting transparency and accountability, open communication about the corporate social responsibility activities and their impact, which also helps to build up a trust and loyalty and prevent conflicts in the conflict affected areas. Supporting local capacity building. It also empowers the local communities to participate in and benefit from the corporate social responsibility activities, which also increases the ownership and reduce the risk of conflict. Prioritizing human rights. Um, Corporate social responsibility always make them ensure that it should respect the human rights and avoid to contribute to the human right abuses, which is also an essential perspective for the local communities. Now, the next section is the corporate social responsibility and social activism. So, the corporate social responsibility and the social activism shares a common goal: create a positive change, addressing the social and environmental issues. As the corporate social responsibility activities, it always refers to those activities which always address a social change in the society and makes a group of individuals who are always assist to have such change. So these two forces can work hand to hand and resource and of course utilize the resources, expertise and passion to have a meaningful progress in the remote areas. It is also important to understand the relationship between the corporate social responsibility and the social activism and how their collaboration of these two terms which leads to a transformative change. So these are the following reasons: it's shared objectives, common goals, both corporate social responsibility, social activism. It aims to address the social challenges, promote human rights and environmental sustainability, and create a more better world. Collective impact. It also collaborates with the social activist, which allows the business to focus about the impact of their corporate social activities by joining the grassroots movements or organizations with expertise in a specific areas. Next one is advocacy and awareness. It rising the awareness. Mainly the social activist is also brings attention to the critical issues, always raise the public awareness, encourage the business to participate in such awareness programs through the corporate social responsibility activities. Advocacy partnerships. Companies should come forward to support social activities which leads to a financial contribution, resources, and of course work for a policy changes. Stakeholder engagement, community participation is also plays a very important role to collaborate with the social activists to identify the needs and their rights. Business can do partnership with the with social activists to ensure the corporate social responsibility projects are community centric and meet local requirements in in a remote areas. Employee engagement. Social activities within a company is also driven by the employees who are very passionate about the specific areas, and the companies can specifically support and empower the employees who work for the corporate social responsibilities projects. Addressing gaps in the corporate social responsibility initiatives. It is very important to identify the critical issues like social activities is always helps the business to identify the critical issues which needs an urgent requirement to understand. Next one is innovation and collaboration. Collaborating with social activists, companies can explore innovative solutions and develop its strategies and approaches to deal with complex challenges more effectively. Ethical business practices, being a social responsible business conduct, working with such activities which always reinforce that what would be the importance of the ethical norms and the social norms which always being used to have a responsible business practices. Advocating for change, businesses can use their influence and their resources to change, to conduct a positive or the systematic change, how to build up a policy reforms in line with such social activist goals. Crisis response and relief efforts, disaster relief, and in terms of crisis, business should collaborate with social activists and the NGOs to provide an immediate relief and support to the affected communities from the disasters. Long-term rehabilitation. So joint efforts can be channelized for a long-term rehabilitation projects so that they can help the local communities to recover, to rebuild their homes after disasters. And the last one is transparency and accountability. Demonstrating impact, that is very important concept, that how it will collaborate between the corporate social responsibility and social activism, which always needs to transparent reporting and accountability in corporate social responsibility projects. Next one is measuring progress. Social activities can also hold the business accountable for their corporate social responsibility commitment. So it is very important for the organization to be in accountable for their projects, for their commitments when while associating with the social activities in order to ensure that the initiative, the corporate social responsibility initiative, create a long lasting change, a positive change. Now we can come up to the next concept, that is business ethics. So business ethics or ethical standards are the philosophies, are the practices, are the norms, principles, guidelines for the management or for the owner in their day-to-day activities, or they can use such norms, practices, philosophy, guidelines in their business decisions. So business ethics is always requires the consideration that how much the impact, how much their business decisions could impact the interest of their stakeholders, and accordingly they can take measures or immediate action to save or to secure the interest of those stakeholders by observing the morality in their business activities. So, according to the Wheeler, one of the author who have defined the term business ethics, that business ethics is an art and science for maintaining the harmonious relationship with the society, its various groups and institutions, as well as reorganizing the moral responsibility for the rightness and the wrongness of the business conduct. And such business ethics will teach such organizations and institutions about, in order to understand the responsibility about the rightness and the wrongness of conducting the business. Three C's of business ethics. The first one is compliance. Business ethics means is following the laws, organizational policies, principle of morality, which is very necessary in business organizations, like honesty, no jealousy, no cheating, etc. Contribution. Business ethics always serves the society through their mission, core values, quality products, better quality of life, more employment opportunities, and at how more and more optimized utilization of scarce resources, community development activities, etc. Next last C is consequences. Business ethics means considering the impact of the business decisions and activities, to major focus on business decisions and activities on the stakeholders, interest, environment, and public reputation. Principles of business ethics: being accountable, being trustworthy, being respectful, be honest, be transparent, be fair in all the, you can say, opportunities and the carriers, of yourself in an organization to grow, and be concerned for environment. Climate change, wastage of resources are affecting the environment to a greater scale. So there should be an ethical concern for the business. Like Coca-Cola, for example, state it has a goals to conserve water. That means increase water securities. Different perspective of business ethics. The first one is utilitarian perspective. It means focus to maximize the overall happy for the greatest number of people. So the major focus is all about happiness for everyone. So in business ethics, the perspective may include the mainly focus of the various action and solution, and choose the one that brings the more and more benefit to the majority of people. Next is a it's deontological perspective. So deontological perspective is rule based. It places the more and more importance about the moral principles and duties. So the major focus is moral duties and principle of this perspective. And from this more perspective or viewpoint, certain action is to be taken to decide what is rightness, what is wrongness, what would be their consequences. And business always makes a decision based on the moral obligations and the principles and norms. Next is virtue ethics perspective. So the major focus of this perspective is about the development of the moral character, about the development of an individual character. So in business, this perspective is to cultivate the virtues like honesty, integrity, compensate about the works in employees' nature and leaders, so that they can guide the others about ethical behavior. Next one is justice and the fairness perspective. The justice perspective is mainly focused about the fairness and the equitable treatment of all the stakeholders. And the business should consider the principles of distributive justice in order to ensure the proper distribution or a fair distribution of resources and opportunities about the employees and communities. Next is rights-based perspective. The major focus of this perspective is to respect and uphold the rights of individuals and stakeholders. So in business ethics, this perspective is should ensure that the decisions respect the human rights, labor rights, and the rights of the affected communities. Next perspective is a sustainability perspective. The major focus of this perspective is all about the long-term well-being of the society. That means it's mainly focused about the welfare of the society for a long period, about the welfare, about the environment, about the future generation. And the business should adopt this perspective to integrate the environmental and the social consideration into the practices and mainly to build up a sustainable development in the society. That's it for today. Thank you for listening this lecture. I will come up to the more and more interesting and important topics in the upcoming session. So till time, thank you and namaste to all.